it doesn't just look like a common or garden documentary. It looks like a cinematic film. It's just very, very well produced. It's flawless, to be honest. It's not just like an average sports documentary. It is a really, really interesting film and a very emotive film. And I found the most emotional part, and evidently for you, was that you found it, as anyone would, at a high level of competitive sport, incredibly difficult if you lost.
Yeah.
I know. I'm not going to make you relive it, but we'll talk about it briefly.
No, we can talk about anything you'd like. That losing is some of the hardest things because, you know, especially at that time, I was putting everything I knew into wrestling. It's all I knew and it's all I lived, and it was my heart. And you set these goals so high for yourself, and you know, you start working towards them, and they seem like they're getting closer. And then sometimes there's these losses that happen along the way, and it's like, it's about having the best thing to learn from them is, you know, how to deal with them. Because at first, when I was younger, like, you know, I used to get real upset. I used to freak out, and a loss always hurts, and you're always upset. But it's, my dad says best, it's like we win and then we learn. So like the losses are all about learning. So it's learning about yourself, learning how to be a better sportsman, you know, better sportsmanship and things like that. And it just, the losses are where you learn everything. So I think, you know, even when you're so successful, searching for those losses, like how can I, you know, find these things that I'm not good at, and, you know, these things that I can work on and really pinpoint them and get even better.
Yeah. I mean, of course, like you said, when you're young, your emotional intelligence isn't that developed. So of course, you know, you're gonna take it hard because A, you're competitive, and B, you know, you hadn't probably realized that loss isn't really a loss, it's just a lesson.
I felt like when I would lose, I felt like I was letting not just myself down, everyone that's ever put any time into helping me down. So like I thought I was failing everyone, and that pressure I put on myself, and no one put that on me except me, and that pressure was crippling at times.
All the greats do that to themselves, you know that, right? Everybody that's ever won or been driven as hell in life puts pressure on themselves.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. It's just because you're great. It's your own fault. Sorry. It's just anybody driven, that's they're hardwired to self-flagellate mentally and blah, blah, blah. It happens. But yeah, so I noticed when you watch the documentary, and I encourage folks to watch it, it's just awesome for so many reasons. You can get it on Amazon Prime. I don't know where else you can stream it in America, but I mean, it's Amazon Prime's the main source where you can get it, rent it, buy it. I bought it because I wanted to watch it over and over. And but there were just moments in it that were a difficult watch, very difficult for the viewer. I'm sure it was incredibly difficult for you feeling it. I don't know how much we can talk about it because I don't want to give too much away. And by the way, because this is Instagram and not radio anymore, you can curse as much as you want. Be happy about that. Okay. So I mean, I don't want to give. In fact, I won't give too much away. But you know, there was a bit in the locker room where you screamed out about why am I blah blah blah, and that absolutely murdered me, to be honest.
I had a feeling that's where you were going. That's
Anthony.
That,
I'm not going to. I don't want to give it away. So
no, it's okay. It's after like a loss in the film, and it's after a lot of like the playing around with the rules and things like that. And it got so mental to the point where it wasn't even wrestling anymore in my brain. And all I wanted to do was just fit in, and like, you know, I was trying to do the sport and succeed at it and not be like the blind kid almost. And I really had this, like, it was, that scene is so raw and it's so real. You could never act that or fake that. I'm 17 years old and I'm standing in this locker room by myself, and or someone's talking to me, and I'm just, all I can get out is, why the fuck am I blind? Like, that's, I hate it. Like, that's where I was. And that's this like self-pity and like just hating yourself and like your situation. And it was really a miserable, dark time that, you know, it's a dark period and it's real. And it's, you know, those days happen, but it's just like losses, how you deal with it and come back from it.
It's also your absolute humanity on camera.
Yeah.
End of story. It's humanity, you know, and it's been captured on film, and I applaud for it, because some people would shy away from that. You know, they don't want you to see it, close the locker room door, blah blah blah, and you just let it out, and it murdered me.
The filmer that, I'm sorry, real quick, the filmer that got that scene, it was my brother. It was my brother who was a filmer, and then another guy who worked with him. This guy Chris Sikorsky, amazing guy, and he said that he was so scared to film that, but he just knew it had to be filmed.
It absolutely did need to be filmed. Yeah, it did. I think it's I think it's an absolutely pivotal part of that film. Without taking away from the sport, without taking away from anything else, the humanity of that one comment was, for me, pivotal to the whole film, and it showed you your humanity and just your strength as a person. You know, why wouldn't you shout that out? You wanted to win. And every time they held your hand up and won, everyone as an audience, or whoever, me, whatever, we became more jubilant for you, because you worked your ass off. You heard your trainer. This isn't about you being that guy anymore. This is about you being an awesome wrestler, and nobody cares. They just want to beat you.
Yeah, it's so real.
Oh,
thank you.
Yeah, you trained hard. You know, you were in full Rocky mode in that film.
You know, I look back and I honestly can't believe how, like, I train to this day, and I train with, you know, my life is a little more diversified than just fighting now. So it's really good and it's healthier. But I look back and I don't know how I did some of those things. And like, it makes these mundane daily life tasks look like a joke to me.
It's interesting, because that's what someone who's been in the military would say. Do you know what I mean? They've been through a battlefield, which you had technically, and then when they come into civilian life, they're like, whatever. And I think that's quite a pertinent analogy to what you've just said, if you know what I mean.
I do.
Because you were on a battlefield, and now you're saying that you're living in a more mundane situation, because you had to go through full struggle to fight other people, literally and mentally, and then you grew and you grew, and then you stopped.
Yeah.
And you stopped that sport, and so kids, go and watch that film. It's unbelievable. And we will move on, and then you came out of that sport, and I know that the people, and let me just get my references correct. The US Paralympic Committee saw the trailer for that and wanted you to move into to judo to represent your country, correct?
Yeah, so I graduated high school in about 2013, and then all the filming was done. And 2 years go by of the film being on the shelf, basically. I went to college. My brother, who was working on it, he, you know, moved and bought a house, and then the guy Chris had a kid. So like, life happened for everyone. And then 2 years go by, and Chris is like, I have to take this film off the shelf. Like, there's such an amazing story here that needs to be told. And he puts together the first 15 minutes, and then 2 days before the day before he schedules to meet with my brother to show him what he's done, my brother passed away that night before. And it was like this tragic event, you know, where like it was such a shock to everyone. He was at the age of 27. He's like my big hero, like my inspiration, my idol, like this guy that did so much for me without me even asking, me ever knowing that I would need this in my life. And Chris came to that funeral, and he vowed to finish his film. And there was this whole Kickstarter campaign, and the trailer kind of went viral and like went on across all these platforms. And the Paralympic Committee saw that and asked. One day I got a call, and they're like, "This is the Olympic Committee." I'm like, "I'm sorry, I think you have the wrong number." And they're like, "No." So they're like, "No, we saw the documentary, blah blah," and asked me if I consider training judo for the Paralympics. And I kind of just took it as this opportunity where I was like really down, kind of down in my life at this point, where I was seeing all this stuff happening with the film, and it was making me sad because I wasn't really training for anything, and I wasn't doing much, to be honest. I was just trying to stay afloat with life, and like, you know, mourning the loss of my brother, my mom got hurt, all these things happened, and
Of course.
So I jumped on that opportunity right away, and I started training a whole new sport. It was similar to wrestling, but you know, a lot of new things I had to learn, and just kind of thrown right into the wolves, like traveling across like the world, going to all these countries I've never been to, and competing against these people that have been doing judo their entire lives. And you know, it was just like right back at it, and like training nonstop, and then trying to climb that ladder of getting back, you know, trying to get to the top. And it's just a whole new journey. And then so many things, you know, even since then have happened, because life just keeps happening.
How was the transition between those two disciplines, from wrestling to judo, for you?
The transition was pretty enjoyable, I'd say, because it was like, you know, learning new things is fun to me. I like when I'm at this like bottom of this mountain that I have to climb, because it's like, it's a journey. Like I'm awful at this, so I can get better, kind of thing. And like, I started working at it right away, and you know, putting like hours and hours in, because that's, once again, at that point in my life, it was all I had, all I could really focus on, because that's all I could think about. And then, you know, nonstop training for that, and then going to these competitions and actually doing well. And then finally got to like, I was like first in the country, and then top 20 in the world. And I was like very close to making it to Tokyo for the Olympics. And then I, about 2 tournaments before the Paralympics, I tore my groin like 2 days before leaving for the tournament in practice. So it was like a pretty bad tear, and I couldn't do anything for months. So it was really brutal. And it was just like,
Ouch.
yeah, another hit of life, where, you know, things don't always go your way, but you have to keep rolling with it.
How did you combat that mentally? Because you don't like stopping, as you know.
Yeah.
And injuries are a bitch, as you know. So how did you cope with that?
I played a lot of guitar. I played a lot of gigs, music gigs and stuff like that. So it really helped me mentally. I was devastated for a minute, like for a couple of days. You know, it was hard to move, and then just like inching yourself out of that hole of like, it's okay. You feel like you let the world down, type of thing.
A lot of pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's what, as I said before, that's what makes winners.
I know.
That's what sets you apart from the men and the boys, Anthony. Telling you.
Thank you.
There we go. Somebody's made a great comment. It's called Iron Will. Amen, sir. It is. That's what sets you apart from other people. That's what makes you, you know, just your warmth comes across in your videos. You know what I mean? The reason that people like you and follow you is because you're driven and astonishingly fearless, believe it or not. Maybe you've got your own fears internally, but astonishingly fearless. That's how we all view you. So you've gone through to the judo, and then, as you know, COVID hits, yay, not, and you couldn't get to Tokyo. So that's on hold. Will you go back to that at some point? Or are you so super involved now with social?
Oh, no, I'm still, judo's still very much in my life. Training with a, you know, different mindset, kind of trying to take some of that pressure off myself. So attacking it with a little more lightheartedness, like in a fun way, with less pressure, and just training hard, with goals to make it to 2024 in Paris. And also been kind of paralleling that with skateboarding is a new thing I've taken on that I've been getting really into.
I noticed you've got you and Tony Hawk BFFs all of a sudden now. Can you?
He's that was meeting a lifelong like hero. That was incredible.
Insane. And now he's injured. The irony.
I know. He's already, but he's coming back though. Can never.
Of course he is. He's a winner. Of course he is. But yeah, so let's talk about skating. How did you? Is that I think that's a childhood thing, because I saw a picture of you somewhere when you were very small on a skateboard. That's a little thing of yours since you were young, right?
Yeah, so my two big brothers were always skateboarding when we were growing up, and naturally I just wanted to be around them and be them and, you know, hang out with them and all their friends. So they would always be skateboarding, and even growing up, we had this driveway at my parents' house, so they would like build ramps and stuff. So I would always be like the kid out there with, you know, with the helmet and the knee pads, kind of like in the beginning I was just rolling around on my knee on the skateboard, like pushing, and then finally I would like just get on and like really dumbly, like didn't know how to do anything at all skateboarding, but I would like just try and jump off these ramps and stuff when I was little, like in the driveway, and just always like just didn't care and loving it. And then, you know, I kind of got really back into it a little bit in high school, and then because it was my brother Oliver, like he was a big like trying to capture me skateboarding. And once he passed away, I think subconsciously I kind of put the skateboard away, and I didn't even know like where my skateboard was. I lost it or gave it away or something. And then a couple years later, like maybe about a year and a half ago, I was at my other brother's house, John, and there was a skateboard in the garage, and I was like, "What skateboard is this?" And he was like, "Oh, it's Ollie's." And he's like, "Take it." And I was like, "Really?" And I took it, and then what do you know? I started skateboarding again at the skate park in town, in the nearby town, and then I just like through the internet and through other things met these awesome blind skateboarders who were like really good, and I got to meet up with them in Michigan, and like for this meetup thing, and we all skated together, and they taught me all this stuff, and like that really got me kind of hooked on in skateboarding. You know, I fell in love with it. I was like, wow, I can actually like do more than I ever thought. Like there's ways to learn this even though you're blind, and like it's just, you know, once again just falling in love with it, and like every time I skateboard now I feel that connection to my brother like even more.
That's wonderful. I'm sure you'd be incredibly proud of you, Anthony.
Thank you.
That's okay. So where is this sudden surge of I'm going to tell the world this is what a blind person does? Where did that leap from being at home, not doing the sport at the moment, and now I'm going to tell everyone on social about a blind person's experience and show sighted people and blind or whoever how this works, because you explain it so well, and you make it so interesting and accessible, and you show adaptive stuff, and this isn't remotely patronizing. It is just so interesting. Things we never knew. I'm just going to tell you something before you tell me, because it's really tricky me to interrupt, but it's important. I want you to know this. Two things about me that I want you to know that I already had some idea of. So one, by trade, as well as this, I'm a British Sign Language interpreter, and I work with deafblind people a lot who have RP, which is similar to
very similar.
So RP's, you know, retinitis pigmentosa, their tunnel goes over time. It's sometimes linked to deafness. And I've taught and gone out with people when they've been taught how to use a cane along the street. So before I interviewed you last week, I went and did an experience to see how, or find out about how your world is. And I couldn't complete it, and I went into a complete panic. And it was cool, and it's called Dialogue in the Dark. They're all over the world. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Is it Dining in the Dark?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So it's called Dialogue in the Dark, and I went and did it last week with a friend. All of us were sighted, obviously, and they put us in a room with a cane, and they said, you're going to go into this next room. It basically is a gigantic warehouse that they have simulated the outside in. Roads, bridges, a market, everything tactile. And what I didn't know, I thought there might be some degree of light and shadow. They give me the cane. Have you used one before? Yes, I have, because I've taught a deaf person to use it, blah, blah, blah. And there's four of us there. One of my best friends is behind me. And he said, now we're going to turn out the lights. It was full blackout. And I went stiff as a board, and I, excuse my language, got the fuck out of there. Okay, and I can hear Rob behind me, my best friend, one of my best friends, and he's so logical. And he said to me, "What do you think is going to happen?" What can I say to him? Do you know what I said to him? I don't know. Do you think you're going to fall over? No. What do you think is going to happen? I said, I don't know. He said, just need to listen to the guy's voice. The guide is coming. Just listen to his voice. I said, I can't do it. I'm stiff, and I already know my brain, and it has now come out of my head and gone into absolute rapturous panic, and I'm out. You go ahead, and that's it. I'm too old, Anthony, to put myself through the panic. I came out. It wasn't just a bit or gradual or time. It was gone. Full blackout. I was like that. See ya. So, I did it because I wanted to experience to a degree your world, but they put me into a much deeper state of absolute
just total blackness.
Yeah, please. So I'm just telling you, I tried to be the sensory experience, but
that's amazing. Well, real quick, my wife and I, in other countries, we've been to something called dining in the dark. So it's a similar experience where you go in the restaurant and it's pitch black. You can't see anything, even with your eyes open. And when we were there, one of them, it was like very loud, like crowded. It was taking a while for the food to come. Kelly, my wife, was very hungry. So she was like experiencing everything that, like, when I'm out at like a loud bar or something that I experienced. And she was like getting so overwhelmed. And then finally she actually broke down towards the end because she's like, I get to like leave this and you don't. Like I get to get out of this, and like knowing that this is going to end for me and it doesn't for you. And it was like a really profound thing in our relationship where we even connected on a way deeper level. So, and I could totally see why you were so scared, because anxiety is essentially just the fear of the unknown. And when you go from seeing to not seeing, you have no concept of what's around you. So you're just scared, like you're anxious. Your whole body tenses and you can't breathe.
It's very interesting. So there was two things. Rob said to me, my friend, if they had shown you the room first and then turned it out, how would you have dealt with it? I said, I can't answer. Great question. And the second thing is, when I came out, the guy that's got the walkie-talkie that gets you out, blah, 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 he said to me, do you think do you regret not letting go? Yes, I do regret not letting go. I said, I was crying afterwards because I was angry with myself for not doing it. But I wasn't ashamed. I was just annoyed with myself for not letting go. But I didn't have any graduation, Anthony.
No.
None.
Some people, life is like that too, unfortunately, too. Where
yes, it is.
Off.
Yes, it is. Maybe over time, if I'd have been there a bit longer, 10 minutes, 15, we've gone from a conversation to bang, he's just coming to get you. I was like that. No.
Yeah.
No.
Well, no. How we started doing them was actually during the pandemic when everything stopped. Kelly was trying to get me to go on TikTok. So we've been telling my story for a while, kind of on like Instagram and stuff, but we had like maybe 300 followers, and like actually I think like 800 at this point, or 1,000. And it wasn't really growing, and it seemed like nobody was really interested or whatever, but that's just how it seemed. But it was like it wasn't getting served, and I didn't know how to grow or like reach new people. And she was telling me about TikTok. Come on, get on TikTok. Like at first it was like she was trying to get me to do like a funny dance with my cane. She was like, it would go viral, it would be funny. I'm like, I'm not doing that. Like, screw that. I'm not going on that app. Like, I'm not doing it. And I was against it for like a while. And then one day I'm like at home and I was like, all right, let me explore this. And I started scrolling and like saw like other style things other than like dances and stuff. And so like there's people like vlogging, there's people like just telling about their life and stuff. I was like, all right, let me try this. So like did a video just introducing myself, like my name's Anthony, like look pretty normal, and then like one thing different, I'm blind, and like talk about the things I do, like skateboard, judo, motivational speaking, music, all that stuff, and then ended it with one love. And then I went to sleep, I had like 30 followers and the video had like 100 views, and I woke up and it was like I had like 30,000 views and I had like 1,000 followers, and I was like, whoa, what's going on? And like all these like super positive comments happening, like just tons of feedback, and then tons of questions about how do you do this, like how do you skateboard, and then that kind of led into how I do things, and then that kind of led into bringing people on experiences like with me, like what and how I navigate the experience, or what I would do in this situation. And I always say this is how I do this, or because it might be different, everyone's different, so like I don't want people to think, oh, that's how every blind person does that, because that might not be true. This is how I do it.
Yeah, but it's having to put content out. Oh, sorry, I just hit my microphone. That was clever. Having to put content out, and it's a full-time thing. Having to create, think, produce. It's hard work. Reels and editing and hashtagging. It's a full-time thing, and I applaud you, both of you. I know you're both involved in it with yourself and the lovely Mrs. F. I want to call her that because I think she's lovely. And hi. She's gorgeous. Look at her. You're both gorgeous together. Can I just say that without being...
Thank you so much.
The two of you are just ridiculously
lovely. I couldn't do it without her.
Of you. You're just so lovely. Okay, sorry, I just had to get that out. It's finished now. So it's a lot of work. It's like it's a career in itself, and you're just doing so well at it. It's so interesting, and you've got your podcast as well with your friend Dan the Man. Four Bad Eyes, brilliant name. Genius, by the way.
Thank you.
And what sort of thing? I haven't actually tuned into it yet. See, I'm totally honest. So
I'm glad.
What do you talk about? Just skating, boy stuff?
No, we talk about. We're pretty feminine boys, I'd say. We're very in touch with like just I'd say our emotions, and so we talk about everything. We're like. We talk about skateboarding, just growing up blind, different like experiences we've had, even just like what we're doing now in present day. We interview people. We actually just did our first interview with a professional voiceover actor who's actually also blind, and it was he does the intro for our podcast actually, and it's just been his name's Pete Gustin, and it's been going really well. Yeah,
Pete's voice is amazing.
It's incredible, and
isn't it?
I really recommend listening to the most recent episode. It's just like he was so interesting, his whole story, and it's been great though. We've gotten to meet really great people through it. Dan and I have just had so much fun teaming up, and we've been making like really fun content around the podcast as well, like just fun videos to make people laugh and. Sort of also explain how we do things together and stuff like that.
Yeah, you've made me laugh a couple of times. The one where he was on the bed and texting my lady, and I've just completely forgotten the punchlines of what you said to him, but it made me crack up out loud.
I know, yeah, we mess with each other. It's great.
Yeah, you've got a good rapport. So just before we move on to other things, and I don't like ignoring too many comments because we're not doing a Q&A, but some lovely little comments about the just kind of getting Four Bad Eyes is an amazing podcast. It's very funny yet insightful, and somebody else has written the podcast is really insightful. So you've reached a lot. I mean, you reach a lot of people anyway.
That's amazing. That's really nice to hear because it's a new project and we're putting a lot into it.
I have got two questions. Oh no, they're not. Okay, they're not questions. I thought that there was a couple in the corner of my screen, but they're not. They're just little comments that I thought that I would have honoured them and asked them, but that's fine. So let's talk about my first love in the entire universe: music.
That.
And you love it. You pick up a guitar, and at what age are you playing that well? Because you play well.
Oh, so, thank you so much. I'm still learning every day. It was all when I was 17, senior in high school. Wow, it's been 10 years now. I'm getting old.
You are. I won't lie, you are old.
I know, it's crazy. But we were. I was in the backyard. But I grew up listening to rap and stuff, like because I went to school in Philly for the School for the Blind, and I was always immersed in like hip hop and rap. And my dad always tried to get me to listen to jazz and blues. And I was always like, no. And like, he used to drive me to high school every day in the morning because it was on his way to work. So he would drive me to school and I would be playing like rap. And he'd be like, come on, Anthony, just listen to this one song. Listen to the instruments. And like, no, like, screw that. And finally, I'm in the backyard my dad plays trumpet and piano, and he breaks out his trumpet. My friend's over who plays the drums, and he goes and gets a drum, and my friend starts playing the drum while my dad's playing trumpet, and I'm just sitting there like, this is bullshit. Like, I want to play music with you guys. Like, I want to jam. I feel so left out. So my uncle left a guitar there just for that reason. So I go inside and pick up the guitar, and I'm like, Dad, show me a chord. And he shows me a chord, a C chord, and I started slamming on the guitar strings, like so obnoxiously. I didn't even know what rhythm was. It was so pathetic. It was so bad. Like, my dad called me stone hands. My parent, like, people in my family, they wouldn't let me practice in the same room as them. They'd be like, just go practice somewhere else. I'm trying to like chill. And I would just play. I was obsessed with it though. Like, I would play every minute I could. I would start bringing my guitar to school. I'd play in between periods. I would play in lunch. Like, anytime I could get, I would play like before wrestling matches, whatever. Like, just, and I was awful, but I was just in love with it. I was in love with music. I fell in love with like actual music, like listening to the guitars and the bass and the drums, like everything. And it was just this whole new world to me. And then, finally my friends and I just start jamming together in my basement with my dad, and like we end up getting a drum set, and it just becomes this whole thing. And the next thing you know, we're playing out, and I've never sang before in my life, and I'm singing for this band, and then like learning how to sing along the way, and just completely thrown into it. And like, when I play my guitar, I tell people it's like when I'm locked in, like especially in a jam with other people, when I'm locked in, like you can tell, like my head's either down or back, and I'm like not here, like I'm completely somewhere else, and I don't. It's the one time in my life like I'm not blind at all. Like, vision's not a concept. Like, I'm just in the music.
I hear you. I get it. I have musician friends, and I can literally see when they've gone while they're in it. 100%. Music's my whole life. I completely understand. And I literally, a couple of people I know that are respected musicians, I can literally see them go. There's a minute where I see it. That's it. They're out. They're out. They've left their body. They're in the music. And so I get it. Music saves people.
It does.
It's an absolute gift to this world.
It's a healer.
To me, I took it to school, I played it all the time. Of course you did. That's what you've done with everything. That's what you did with wrestling. That's what you did with judo. You started at the bottom and you just kept doing it and kept doing it. That's what you do, which is why you're so inspirational to everybody else. But as I say, so tell me, that rap song, what was it, first of all? I need to know.
Oh, well, there was plenty of rap songs.
But you said they played you a rap song. And you were like, and they said, your friend said to you, listen to this. What was it? Do you remember?
Oh, what, a rap song? Yeah. Well, it was Eminem when I was a kid. So like Eminem, I remember breakdancing to an Eminem album when I was like 7 years old in the living room of my parents' house.
I hope someone's got a video of that, Anthony.
Oh, I'm sure there is somewhere.
That's what you need to put on Soch. Okay, and tell me, what music do you love now? What yanks your chain, sir?
It's really it's a wide variety, but I think the heart of it goes like to the blues. I'm really obsessed with the blues because it's an expression. It's how you feel. It doesn't have to be sad. It doesn't have to be it doesn't always have to be negative, but it could be happy. But also, like, if you are sad, you can let that out real good through the blues. And then I love like rock and roll. I love jazz. I love country. I love it all, really. Like, everything except maybe like heavy metal or something.
Yeah, there's limits.
Yeah.
You like a melody. You don't want to get too long.
Yeah, exactly.
I get it. Right, so what's next for you, Anthony? You're going to push on with the socials and the podcast.
Yeah,
2024 Paris.
That, and then continuing with skateboarding. I'm hoping to get a skateboarding sponsor in the next couple years, hopefully, if I continue to get better. And then also just continuing the journey. Just take one day at a time. Really, I can't think too far ahead, because anytime you try to plan for something, things always happen in between. So it's about really just, you know, continuing to help as many people as possible, and as well as adapting as everything kind of keeps rolling and continuing to move forward.
It's time for our quiz.
Let's do it.
Are you ready, sir?
I am.
They're 10 simplistic questions. You can say whatever you like. You are uncensored. They will make you think. They are not complex. Are you ready?
Yes.
Anthony Ferraro, drum roll. Ready?
Let's do it.
AF, number 1. What is your favourite word?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Fire.
Thinking.
Fire.
Fire. Yeah. Okay, good. Good. Number 2. What's your least favourite word?
Hate.
Good man. Respect. One love. Number 3. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally? These are from the Actors Studio, by the way. I forgot to tell you. I tell everybody, but they're from the American program, the Actors Studio.
That's
I've
awesome.
stolen them.
Um,
So you can choose one of them. What turns you on, basically, creatively?
just like positivity, like the vibe, like the energy around, like how everyone is. Like this interview is amazing because your energy is amazing.
Oh, don't start me off. I start having a little cry. I'm old, you know, I'm hormonal, you know how it goes.
No, you're not.
Yeah, you don't. Auntie Kel knows. Anyway, right. Number 4. What turns you off?
Negativity, just when people hate on other people or put other people down.
Number 5. Brace yourself. What's your favourite curse word? Go on. Let rip.
Trying to think. It's either shit or fuck. Probably shit, because I'm like, I'm always like, shit, when I like bump my head or something.
Okay, that was very tame. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Number 5. Number 6. What sound or noise do you love?
I love thunderstorms. I love that sound. The rain and the thunder. It's a good sound.
That's lovely.
Oh, and the
Number
ocean.
7.
The ocean.
The ocean
Yeah,
as well?
yeah.
Great. Number 7. What sound or noise do you hate?
Anything like high pitched screeching. Like, with that being said, like nails on a chalkboard type, or like anything like high frequency that's just continuous. Like sometimes you hear these, like, you ever hear that sound where there's electric wires that are like making that current sound, and it just sounds like constant electricity? Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, dogs can pick it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Number 8. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt? You do a lot of things. It's hard.
I know. I'm trying to think though.
What else would you like to do? Is an easier way of putting it.
Race car driver. Or no,
Ferraro.
horseback. I want to do horseback riding. No, I used to when I was a little kid, but I want to get back into it. But that or a race car driver.
Like that Ferrari you were in?
Yeah.
God. How was that? Awesome, huh?
Unreal.
Wow. What profession, number 9? We're one away from the big one. Number 9. What profession would you not like to do?
Anything that involves sitting in an office from 9 to 5.
Believe me, I hear you. Okay, here it is, the deep one. Ready? Drum roll. Number 10. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates, Anthony Ferraro?
One love, you made it.
Attaboy. Attaboy. Fantastic. Anthony Ferraro, you little darling. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
For spreading absolute joy across the world and the internet. Shot in the Dark is available on Prime Video. You can find Anthony on Instagram at ASVision, and his podcast For Bad Eyes with his friend Dan the Man Messina. And Anthony, thank you so much for your time. It was an absolute privilege to interview you.
Thank you so much. It was an honor being on here. You're amazing. One love.
You're amazing too. One love.
One
Take care.
love.
Too.
Bye. Bye. Take care.
That's cool. What's
Yeah.
that?
Oh, real quick. I gotta end this on the YouTube. It was live on